Hi, Henny, how are you? It's Teknikolour, and we need to talk about The Sims 4's newest expansion pack for rent because I can't get enough of it. I also can't wait to show you my latest original build in San Myshuno, the Spice Market neighborhood, and it is a residential rental. Let's check it out, shall we? So we got 3 expansion packs released this year for The Sims 4, and I have to be honest, I'm still pretty new to The Sims, and Growing Together was my first expansion pack. The Sims 4 for Rent is the latest expansion pack, and it released December 7th of this year, which is not that long ago. For Rent comes with a bunch of new features, including residential rentals, the new lot type, which I'm really enjoying. Property management, you could be a landlord. Although, why would you want to? New aspirations, new traits, social events. Honestly, I've really been enjoying it. And as you know, I am also a Twitch streamer and I've been streaming a lot of it over on my Twitch. But today I want to show you my latest build that I did in San Myshuno in the Spice Market neighborhood. So, for those of you who don't know, I live in New York City and I really wanted a build that was very reminiscent of the New York City townhomes that I'm so used to seeing and I've actually lived in. And I wanted something that was not 3 stories because it was going to be huge. I wanted it to be 6 separate units because that is the recommended maximum by EA for The Sims 4 for rent, even though there is a cheat to expand that. But I don't know. I feel like I probably wouldn't want to play with that many. You probably wouldn't play with that many either. I was going to make basement units, and I got rid of that real quick. But I will say this build footage is 15.5 hours long. You're not going to be watching that long of speed build, trust me. I took out so much footage. I actually only showed the decoration of one of the units, my favorite. I will show you everything at the end. We'll do a quick little tour, but I didn't want the video to be that long because it was either going to be really long or really sped up. And I was like, nobody's gonna watch this. So as you can see, this townhome has 3 different colors, pink, yellow, and green. And the interiors sort of reflect that as well. I don't really know why I went down that route, but I just ran with it and we kept it that way. It's probably easier just to pick a specific color and just run with it. But you probably wouldn't decorate whatever the exterior color of your house was, but whatever, that's that's what I went with. And I have to be honest, I'm really proud of the way that these turned out. Weirdly enough, I like the pink building the most, which I was kind of dreading because I was like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this. I also had a sim in my legacy challenge who preferred purples and pinks, and it was really hard to build for him. And what's really interesting is that sim and his twin brother, who's actually the heir in my legacy challenge, they had in Brightchester 2 New York City townhomes that I built on those 2 lots that are like sort of in the middle of Brightchester. And then they came out with For Rent and they're like, no, you can make actual townhomes. I'm like, really? It also would have been like so interesting because a lot of the gameplay from For Rent I probably could have used in my legacy challenge. I might use it in the future, but I don't know if I always want my Sims to be landlords. And I don't know if I necessarily want them to be renters either, because then am I going to have to deal with all the events and everything like that? I'm mostly just putting down different furniture pieces just to set up what the rooms will look like and what the overall layout will look like in the future. But this is not the furniture that I decorated with. Also, it took me an exceptional amount of time to not work in the dark. Do any of you do this where you just get lazy and you're just like, I know that there's a ceiling. I know I could put lights in here to make my life easier, but I'm just going to work in the dark. Am I the only one? While we're waiting for a lot of the actual decoration to come in after we've sort of set ourselves up to see how I started making these floor plans, I have a ton of news to share with you. And you might also be surprised to see me in your feed again if you are a returning viewer, because I kind of dropped off the face of the earth, at least here on YouTube, for my longer format content. If you saw my last video, you probably know I dealt with a health scare this summer, and it kind of threw me. I was very scared because I thought that it ended up being anxiety, but I thought that I had a heart condition because I was streaming one morning playing The Sims and my chest really hurt. And I was like kind of freaking out. So I ended up getting it all checked out. Everything is fine in terms of my heart. It seems to be anxiety. I've just been dealing with a lot since then. And with all of the holidays from October to December, I've just been so busy. It's not all bad news. I've actually had a lot of really good things happen since then. So I thought I could share some of that with you. In the early November, I was accepted into the EA Creator Network, which came as a huge shock. I really didn't think I was going to get accepted when I submit an application back when Horse Ranch released, but I thought, what the heck? I've been making content on Twitch on my main platform, but I've also been posting elsewhere, and I've been making these YouTube builds. I thought, what's the worst that can happen? They just reject it? I could probably apply again in the future, and maybe then I'll get in. But I figured, what's the harm in trying? And then I'm getting ready for one of my sim streams for my Legacy Challenge. And I found out I got accepted into the EA Creator Network. I was like screaming. Literally, I was brushing my teeth. I was checking my email, getting ready for my morning stream. I started like freaking out because I was like, this is not real. That was like my first reaction. This is not real. And then I immediately texted my boyfriend, and then I was like, I have to like look at this before stream, and I didn't have that much time, so I was just like looking into everything that I could. Being in the EA Creator Network is really cool because it gives you access to some opportunities like early access to new expansion packs. So I was able to apply to get early access for The Sims 4 for Rent. And they gave me a game code, and I got to do early access on my Twitch stream for like 3 days. Very cool to be able to experience the pack before other people, but also show it off to people so people could also get excited about it. So huge thanks to EA for allowing me to be part of the EA Creator Network and for giving me early access to For Rent so I could show it off to all of y'all. I am over the moon, and I'm just like so excited. Getting to check out the expansion pack early with my Twitch community was such an exciting opportunity, and I'm so grateful. And I think I'm gonna have a sweet spot for Rent because it was my first pack, first anything in The Sims 4 being in the EA Creator Network. You might have already seen some shorts with the watermark of presented by EA in some of my YouTube shorts or my Instagram reels or my TikToks. While I'm not really going to be showing any of that on this YouTube video, I might in the future. But we have to talk about my playthrough because while it's not this build, I did build something in the new world, Tomarang. And I had 2 Sims, husbands, the Moss family, Kai and Marco. They were kind of set up to fail. So I had Kai as our good Sim, our good landlord. And then Marco was our bad Sim, our bad landlord, because Marco was essentially going to be the handyman. Kai was going to be like a social media person and very excited to have an opportunity where he's going to be like a landlord, and he wants to like be the best, and that was his aspiration. However, Marco wanted to snoop and be nosy and sneak into the tiger sanctuary, and he wanted to blackmail Sims after finding out their secrets. And literally all of this I had the idea for after I started playing just for Rent, just to check out in early access. So the new main Sim, I accidentally got her electrocuted, and she did not recover from that. And then I had to play the rest of like my little playthrough, which I only did for one day. But her younger sister, who was a high schooler, then had to run the business as the landlord, blackmail her Sims. She evicted people unjustly. She stole a cat and then adopted it. She blackmailed Grimm. There was a lot that went on that day, but I'm so grateful to the EA Creator Network for allowing me to even check it out. But the build that I made for my own little playthrough was I wanted something in Tomarang, and I wanted it to be a 3-unit building. I wanted 1 for the landlords, and then 2 for other Sims to be rented out to. And yes, we did rent out to Wayne the Boulder, and we definitely didn't help him when he got caught on fire. Actually, 2 Sims ended up dying in a fire from the laundromat that I built in the building. Oops. What are you gonna do, right? But I wanted something so I could play through those 2 new aspirations, and I wanted to check out the new traits. And I also wanted mold, because if you didn't know, there's a new lot challenge where mold will grow in the unit or units. And I really wanted mold to spawn in all of the units. It only spawned in one of the tenants' units, and I got it cleaned up pretty quickly, and then it never came back. And it took a really long time to spawn in my own unit. So like in the landlord's unit, it took forever, which like normally that's a good thing. It took a really long time for the mold to even start spawning. And then when it did, it was more just like confusing because I didn't realize my Sims, after cleaning it, still had mold spores on their body that wouldn't come off with just like a normal bath or a shower. So you actually need to like click on the bathtub or shower and do like scrub spores off or something. And then they're not sick anymore from it. But I was like, they're sick and there's mold, but I don't see any of the mold. So originally I thought it was a bug, but it wasn't. It was just me not understanding what I was supposed to do, which honestly is pretty much how it usually goes. But overall, I have really, really thoroughly been enjoying the pack. I don't know how often I'm going to play as a landlord or I'm going to play with the new residential rental lot type, but I kind of want to. So currently, if you're familiar with my Twitch streams, you're familiar with the Wyndham family in the Around the World's Legacy Challenge. And I'm usually running out of money very quickly. And I need money to decorate the next heir's house. And I haven't really had the best of luck in terms of being able to furnish their houses or even get them a house that is worth anything. So it's been a little bit of a struggle. So currently I moved in my Generation 2 Sim and his husband and their dog into my Generation 3's household. So there would be more money in the household, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I use this new residential rentals because each household is still separate. So I don't know. We'll have to see what goes with that. But we might use it in the future. It would be really cool, but I'm not sure how I feel about it in terms of my current legacy challenge based on the rules that I have set up. But overall, I'm very thrilled with the pack. I think the gameplay is very interesting. I did encounter a few potential bugs. I was very confused because you have to click on the unit door to travel to that unit. And there is a loading screen. And I think a lot of people are very annoyed with the loading screens in The Sims 4, but I have to be honest, it doesn't really bother me. I feel like I'm used to loading screens in games, and it's never really been that much of a nuisance to me. I do think it is a little frustrating because, at least in my playthrough, I would click on the door to travel to the unit and there would be a loading screen, which I understand. But then I wouldn't be able to knock on that door or interact with it in any way. I would have to then go and knock on the back door and then I could interact, and there would be another loading screen. So I'm not sure if maybe it was just I was misunderstanding it, like, maybe there shouldn't be a back door for each unit. Maybe that's where things got a little confused. Um, the back doors might have also gone into a shared space, and maybe that was the issue instead of it being their own unit. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, come to think of it, I had like a back patio for each of those 2 units that was their unit space. So that back patio was fenced in and had a gate, and that was marked as their unit instead of a shared space, whereas the lobby was a shared space. And I wonder if that was the issue. Like, it recognized at the start that it was the front door, but then it assumed that the other door was their actual front door. Maybe that's what it thought. I'm not entirely sure. But I don't know. I feel like I don't really have a huge problem with the loading screens. I will say, having played through the pack, it's very interesting, and having played through the aspirations and having the new traits, it's really fun being able to snoop on people and see what their secrets are, and then being able to blackmail or keep their secrets. Thoroughly enjoyed that. However, I feel like the aspirations were really short. I've dealt with aspirations in all of my Sims playthroughs that are much older, and they take forever to complete, or I just never complete them. And I always thought that was something that I might have been doing wrong, where maybe since I'm newer to The Sims, like I've only been playing The Sims a little over a year now, I feel like maybe that was the issue. But I don't know. After seeing this, I feel like maybe that's not the case. Maybe the aspirations are just meant to be a little bit longer. So I think it was a little frustrating that these aspirations were a little too short, a little too easily attainable. So I was able to get them done within like a couple of streams. I think one of my favorite parts about my playthrough of For Rent was the fact that Marco, who was like my bad sim, he wanted to break into the tiger sanctuary as part of his aspiration. And he wanted the tiger inspector badge, which kind of is like a get out of jail free card. So whenever they're snooping or they're breaking into your unit, they could be like, "Oh, I'm actually inspecting for tigers." So it was very interesting, and it did take me a little while to unlock the badge, and it once I figured out what I needed to do, it didn't take realistically that long to unlock it. But it was still like a really fun idea, and I really enjoyed it. I do think that the tiger sanctuary and the cave, like those rabbit holes were a little too short. It would have been really cool to be able to like go into something and maybe see a little bit more, kind of like Jungle Adventure. But I don't know. I think overall, the pack itself, I don't necessarily know if it's one of my favorites, but I do really enjoy the gameplay from it. Because the fact that you can be a landlord might not seem like something that you would want to do, and it's probably not something that I'm going to do all of the time, but it was a really, really interesting idea to play with. So the fact that like if anything is going wrong in your rental units, like you're the person who is in charge to fix it. I really enjoyed that because it gives you a completely different way of playing The Sims, which is how some of the best packs work. I don't necessarily know if, again, I'm going to play with it that often, but I can see using residential rentals in some of my other playthroughs. Maybe I'm not the landlord, or maybe I'm the landlord, but I'm not charging rent. I just wonder then in those cases if Sims are going to be revolting if they think the conditions are not good enough, or are there still going to be like adoption events at your house, or is there going to be, I don't know, all of these different things that can spawn in the game that are core to residential rentals and that sort of gameplay, but you might want to use the idea of having different portions of your family. So say maybe like your brother has moved out, but like the sim you're playing with still wants to live in the same building or in townhomes like this. So that's another reason why I really wanted to build this build. So again, it's 6 units, New York City townhome, but in San Myshuno in the Spice Market neighborhood. And I really, really, really want to see how the gameplay here would be. So I might end up playing with this myself a little bit. And if you play with it on your own, I would love to hear your thoughts. But I have to be honest, I had the best time decorating this. Again, it did take 15 and a half hours to do it. And I don't know what took me so long. I feel like it took me a really long time to figure out the different layouts. And then I also got confused because I realized afterwards that you need the doors to be lockable and that like the Sims aren't that smart if it's like this is registered to one person but they can't access their door because it's like part of like the lobby. I realized things weren't going to work out the way I expected, so I had to revise some of the floor plans. After I figured that out, I feel like it was kind of smooth sailing. So I'm proud of it. I think it's a very interesting build. I probably would change things if I was going to do this again. I think if I were to build this again, I probably wouldn't make it quite as long. I also might make more units on top, knowing that we can expand using a cheat and have more than 6 units. I think that's interesting. Like for my own gameplay, I might want to try that out, but I think for a build like this, especially putting it on the gallery for other people to check out, I don't know that I would do more than 6. Also, decorating this many lots took forever. And it's also very weird because I felt as if there were not that many build items between all of them. So it was a little bit of a struggle to figure out, okay, well, I use this here. I don't really want to use it in the next unit over because people realistically won't have all the same furniture items. So it would look weird if they did. But I don't know. We need more build items in The Sims 4, and I do recognize that I'm saying this after we just got a new expansion pack with new build items, but I always want more. I always want more. By the way, I know that I've mentioned it a couple of times in this video, but I do actually stream on Twitch pretty much every single day. Even though I'm considering adjusting my schedule in 2024 because I feel like I want to post more on YouTube. I want to have my content elsewhere, not just on Twitch. And I really have enjoyed doing these speed builds and having these long format videos on YouTube, but I feel like it's hard to do all of that when you're streaming every single day. So I think I'm going to probably scale back my schedule in 2024, but I still am going to be streaming a fair amount and I'm going to be streaming The Sims 4. So if you ever want to check me out, my name is the same over on Twitch. It's just Teknikolour. And we do a lot together. We have a ton of really fun Sims content. Not always building, but we do a fair amount of building. Usually with my legacy challenge, whenever we have a new house for my heir. So pretty soon, be because my Generation 3 sim ages up into a teenager soon. So I feel like it's gonna sneak up on me and we're gonna be out of our cottage living days and we're gonna be in cats and dogs, and it's a little crazy that we're gonna we're gonna be moving on so quickly. Plus, it's making me really sad because my favorite sim, my Generation 2 sim, is going to be leaving us soon, and I don't think I'm ready for it. I think checking today on this morning stream, I think there's like 8 days left for him, and he's already had his lifespan extended. So I don't know. I think things are things are gonna be hard. But we also do a bunch of different games on my Twitch as well. We also do Disney Dreamlight Valley. We do Disney Speedstorm. I just finished Tears of the Kingdom, which was really cool. We also occasionally do Dead by Daylight. So we do a bunch of fun games over on my Twitch. So right now, as you can see, we're furnishing one of my favorite units from this build. And I took inspiration from the Modern Luxe kit, so I used a fair amount of those pieces. I really like it. I think it looks really well. I wanted it to be a lesbian couple, and I wanted it to be um shades of pink and purple, and I just wanted something that felt like these would be my friends. Like I could see myself coming here and hanging out. I wanted one of them to be an artist. I wanted one of them to be very glam, which fits with the Modern Luxe kit. I wanted things to show their personalities, even though I don't actually have Sims in mind for this, but that's what I was envisioning when I was making this build. And I'm so proud of the build of this unit in particular. This one's probably my favorite. I'm very impressed with what I came up with for this one, even though there's parts of all of them that I really enjoyed. But this one sticks out as a big favorite to me. Each of the units though has very different feels to each of them. They have like very distinguished taste. Weirdly enough, two of them in each row is pink, yellow, and green, but but I don't know. I feel like I came up with something using each of those color schemes that really speaks to different people. And some of them have guest rooms, some of them have music rooms, some of them have art rooms, some of them it's more built for a family or a shared space between roommates. There's so many different ways that you can play in this build. And again, if you do play in this build, please let me know. I would love to see your thoughts. I don't know. I'm not used to posting builds that are original that I've done on my own here, but I don't know. I'm really proud of this one. I've done a lot of shell builds, and also, oh my gosh, I didn't even get to talk about this. So I had actually wanted to post a video earlier because my Twitch community actually unlocked a shell challenge that I would host. And unfortunately, it's over. We finished it. I did kind of want to make a YouTube video that was sort of promoting it in case anyone over here wanted to try it out, but I just didn't have time, and things have been stressful with like Christmas shopping and all of that. So I just never got around to it, but everyone on my Twitch pulled it out. I looked at all of these builds and they all were really good. Like really good. My community is full of really, really amazing Sims builders. It was also really funny because the shell challenge itself was not designed by me. It was designed by my moderation team. And they each made different puzzle pieces. So each of my mods contributed a room, and that room had to be stuck together. So all of the rooms had to be used at least once, but all put together in a way that it became one build. And then once it was put together, you could remove all of the interior walls that were made so that you could make a floor plan. But if there were any donut holes that were created by doing that, so like a space that wasn't connected to anything else, it was just a hole that was made by putting like this person's room against this person's room. Um, in that case, you had to leave those donut holes. You could still like decorate them, but you couldn't just like get rid of them just to make a bigger floor plan or something. So many people made galleries. So many people made like these beautiful homes, and like the landscaping, which I feel like I kind of struggle with landscaping. I was just so impressed. And everyone has been nonstop talking about how much they enjoyed doing it. So I think we're going to have some more shell challenges in our future. So stick around. Definitely follow me over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Teknikolour. And we're definitely gonna be doing more shell challenges. We're definitely gonna be doing more Sims content, especially since I'm in the EA Creator Network. We're probably gonna have future early access opportunities, at least I hope. And I hope to bring you more content. But let's go and check out, because I know that this zooming all around in a speed build, so it's really hard to see what's going on, and I really only showed one of the units for time getting furnished. So I'd like to pop into the game now and show you around if you don't mind. I'm very, very pleased with the way that this turned out, even though it looks a little strange because it's so much shorter than all of these buildings over here. Like this one over here is a little tiny, but I don't know. I'm still happy with it. They each have their own little outdoor space with landscaping. So if they wanted to have a little garden, they can. Here is one of the apartments, one of the units that we made. They're all set up for a baby. Here's one where I envision that they might be a music teacher. So they have like their dining and living space over here. Over here, there's the kitchen, and then there's like a teens room, and then like a main bathroom. And of course, like this is the entrance into their apartment. And then if you go upstairs, this is the one that we showed off. This one is my favorite. So you come up the stairs here, and immediately you're introduced to this little foyer space with laundry right across, and there's also a desk. The primary bedroom over here is pretty big with their own ensuite bathroom. And then one of them I really envisioned as an artist. So I had a really fun time building this little area. Then they have a small little kitchen, although by New York City standards, this is massive. They have their little dining area. And then there's also a guest room. In the yellow unit, you walk in, and then there is an entrance into the living room. I really liked this space too, even though I'm not a fan of yellow, because this one kind of reminds me of my grandfather's apartment. This would have been their bedroom, my grandparents, but then my grandfather moved into like this smaller room, but it was still kind of open here, so that's why I added this sort of like arched doorway. And moved the bedroom in here because this is kind of how I remember my grandfather's bedroom. Next to that is a sort of guest room for like two Sims. The dining room it's off of, and here's the kitchen. There's laundry space over here, and then another bathroom. There's a place to drop your keys over here and some closets. Up here on the second floor, you come out of the door here, and immediately there's a bathroom space over here. Behind it is an office. And then here's the primary bedroom. But then there's also another bedroom off here. I also really liked decorating this living room. I like it because like I like to play a bunch of board games with my boyfriend, and this is like, I know it's like a coffee table and like you could push it here if you wanted to, but it's fun to have like this set up as like a gaming space. There's a half bathroom here, and then of course the kitchen and the dining room. In the green unit, or one of the green units, you come immediately in, and then over here is like kind of like a landing space, and then the primary bedroom, which also has an ensuite bathroom. And then over here is like a main bathroom for everyone to use, some closet space, and then two extra bedrooms. So there's one for like teenagers over here. Over here, we have another closet space and another bedroom for another Sim or two Sims. And then over here is a really pretty dining area. And then, of course, the kitchen. And then the living room is actually tucked back here. And I really like the way this one turned out. I think it looks really cute. I would probably live in this apartment too, even though the other pink one was my favorite. For the last unit, you come in here and immediately you are greeted with the dining room, the living room over here, very similar to the last one. There's a kid's bedroom over here, and then a main bathroom. And then there's another like little landing area that you can have. You put your keys down, your bag. And then over here is the primary bedroom and bathroom. past the dining and living room is the kitchen, another guest bedroom. So yeah, that's the build. I'm very, very pleased with the way that this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more content like this, you can like and subscribe. I would love to post more videos like this if you liked it. And you can also catch me over on Twitch. You can catch me over at twitch.tv/Teknikolour. I hope to see you there. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.